Yo, he is Mark Malusis. I am Keith Irizarry. It is a Tuesday morning, and Moose, today is an awesome day of sports. We've had a couple of good days of sports. Last night, you had Wemby and Chet going at it in, preseason basketball. They both looked amazing. Tonight, we get hockey started, 3 games, including Bedard versus Sidney Crosby. That's going to be fantastic. You got baseball in full swing. The Dodger fans are crying right now. And then you got the NFL, and I guess we could talk a little bit about Monday Night Football, but Moose, I think we start with Justin Jefferson and what this means for the Minnesota Vikings and what it means for, fantasy managers out there. There were a lot of people very upset this morning.
Yeah, there are a ton of fantasy owners. I mean, there's injuries abound all across the league. Where do you want to start?
I mean, I think so Jefferson, Achane, and James Conner, 3 guys that for at least the last 3 weeks, it's plug and play, put them in your lineups. And now you're going to lose all 3 of those guys. And Justin Jefferson, I think, is the most important one because we've seen this before, Moose, where your number 1 overall selection does get injured. It's happened McCaffrey a couple of years ago. It's happened time and time again. But Justin Jefferson being out for the next 4 weeks, there are fantasy managers that are scrambling right now. And then there is the trickle-down effect to actually real NFL. So go fantasy first. How upset are you if you drafted Justin Jefferson number 1 and now you're going to lose him for the next 4 weeks?
Yeah, it's terrible with the hamstring injury. It's an absolute killer. I mean, that's what you look at when you look at the Minnesota Vikings. Now you can look at KJ Osborne and say Jordan Addison and who's going to fill the role. And, that's what fantasy players do overall. But I mean, nobody's going to be what Justin Jefferson is. And I would imagine the Minnesota Vikings, all due respect to those guys, is going to take a massive step backward as well. You can't take a guy of the caliber of Jefferson out of the lineup and then think that everything is going to be A-okay, because then all of a sudden, you know what? The very fact of the matter is, Keith, is that it minimizes what Justin Jefferson is able to accomplish. Just like if you took Jamar Chase out of the lineup, does that necessarily mean that offense is going to look particularly the same? The answer is no.
So, all right, now let's get into the NFL standing part of this. And I think this is where it's fun. And you and I grew up in the New York area. So, we lived in the world of, and you produced Mike and the Mad Dog for so many years, of people calling in and be like, hey, Mike, Doggy, I think that the Yankees should trade, a bag of potato chips for Alex Rodriguez. I'll take your answer offline, right? Like we've listened to all of that stupidity.
Yes.
I don't think the next thing I'm going to say will land there, but you tell me. All right. So if you're the New York Jets and you clearly know you have a Super Bowl caliber roster, right? The Vikings are now 1-4. And if you look at the next games for the Vikings, at the Bears with no Justin Jefferson, not a gimme. Against the Niners, probably a loss. At the Packers, not a gimme, but maybe a win. At the Falcons, who suddenly are 3-2, not a gimme. So let's say you get 1 win, 2 wins out of that. Let's say you go 2-2. So you're 3-6. Is it worth it to hold on to Kirk Cousins, who's going to walk in the offseason, or you're going to have to pay him some crazy amount of money? Or maybe just reset everything now. Trade him away. I know everyone's afraid of the word tank, but tank now. Get 3 wins this year and draft Caleb Williams or Drake May. I mean, you literally are 1-4. You're one of the 5 worst teams in the NFL right
now. Yeah. So the question is, what? Should I trade Kirk Cousins?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I'd venture a guess. Yeah. I mean, if I were Minnesota, I'd see exactly what the offers are. If I'm the Jets, I'm probably not mortgaging or giving up, an arm and a leg for Kirk Cousins at a shot and a prayer this year of trying to win a Super Bowl with Rodgers coming back next year. And then you're clearly turning the page on everything that you said on Zach Wilson, even though he's coming off a victory against Denver. And the Jets have now got issues of their own with Elijah Vera Tucker, their best offensive lineman, rupturing his Achilles tendon and being done for the year. He got switched out to right tackle after the injury to Dwayne Brown at left tackle, and they moved Mekhi Becton back over the left side. So, if I'm the Jets, I'm not looking to do that. I'm already giving up my second-round draft choice this year to the Green Bay Packers. Rodgers will be back on the horizon next year. I don't know if I'm making that swing for Kirk Cousins. I'm really not. I think that ship is probably sailed. And I think right now, when you look at the Minnesota Vikings, if you're a contending team, yeah, I mean, I I think you'd look at there. I don't know if Kirk Cousins necessarily puts the Jets over the top.
Does Kirk Cousins, in an AFC that was supposed to be insanely loaded, but now an AFC that, besides the Bills and maybe the Dolphins and even the Bills lose this week, those London games are weird, though. I don't know what you take from that. Like, who's so dominant in the AFC?
Well, I mean, I still think there's a healthy respect for Kansas City. Miami's still fun, and they're great. And even without HN, who we have yet to get into, now going to be missed multiple weeks with a knee injury, they still have Raheem Mostert and others, and they still have Tyreek Hill and Tua and Jalen Waddle. The Buffalo Bills, outside of the loss against the Jaguars, they look really, really good. Is Buffalo going to be a team? For sure, because I think Von Miller's going to get better as this season goes along. So any way you cut it, Keith, like I look at the scenario of Cousins. You throw him into the AFC or throw him to, what other team? I mean, Detroit's not trading for him, obviously.
Nope.
Dallas isn't. San Francisco isn't. Take everyone out there. Chargers aren't. Chiefs aren't.
Nope.
The Broncos are not. Anybody, the AFC West, that pretty much takes out all contenders there. The Jaguars are not. The Colts have got their quarterback. The Texans have got their quarterback. Nobody, in the AFC North. I mean, maybe. I mean, you want to say that the Pittsburgh Steelers go out there and get themselves Kirk Cousins?
Interesting.
I mean, he would be interesting in Pittsburgh because
I don't think they're ready to write off Pickett, though.
I don't think. Sure. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know, but that means you're just completely saying that Kenny Pickett can't play,
right?
And he's giving you all the indications that he's not particularly good. But are they willing to do that right now as a franchise? And then you look at the Jets and the AFC East, because the Dolphins are not trading for him. Maybe the New England Patriots. I mean, would the Patriots go out there and gamble on that, or would the Patriots just say we're going to be really bad and throw ourselves into the mix of Caleb Williams and Drake May at the end of the year?
There's not a lot of options.
No, but I mean, there's really not. But I mean, for fantasy owners, the Jefferson injury is a killer. I mean, Deutsch throws it out in our chat session, drafting Jefferson over McCaffrey in San Francisco, number 1 overall. Looks to be a league-losing decision. Yeah, I mean, he's going to be back this year. It's not like he's not going to be back. Now you have to find a way to squeeze out some victories without Justin Jefferson being a part of it. But like I go back to my earlier point that I made to you, Keith, is that I don't think this Vikings offense is going to be nearly as dynamic, nearly as good without their best playmaker on the field. How could it be? I mean, really, how could it be? And then you see the Schefter tweets that maybe it lasts a little bit longer than 4 weeks. Jefferson didn't get the contract that he's looking for. Mm-hmm. He's on IR. Now we're going to be playing that game. That's what happens with losing teams.
Yes.
Is this kind of scenario and this kind of drama with a team that right now is not good. They won a lot of close games a year ago, and now the football gods are cashing back in, and Minnesota is a 1-4 team and doesn't look like they're going anywhere. And we're having the conversations about dealing off Cousins and now the fantasy impact of Justin Jefferson being out for 4 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, if I were in the belief from the fantasy world, if I believe that Kirk Cousins is not going anywhere and he's going to just stay in Minnesota the rest of the year, I'm clearly going to go after KJ Osborne in my waiver wire. And I know we have Britt Flinn coming on in about 20 minutes, and she'll kind of take us through what her waiver wire looks like right now. I would look at Osborne. Obviously, Addison is on rosters right now. If I have Addison on my roster, I'm very excited about that. Sky is the limit for him to have an opportunity to be a number 1 option as a wide receiver. I wonder what happens with the run game, right? Because Madison has been so-so, and Cam Akers really, he's just a guy. Like, I don't know what the fallout there is. I think that, I mean, honestly.
Well, and here's the other end. Say they move Cousins.
Yeah.
Then the impact on, then you're looking at what?
Who is the backup quarterback?
Kellen Mond.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
it's the backup quarterback in Minnesota. So then you're looking at him, and you're looking at Addison and Jefferson and TJ Hawk. I mean, that offense is not necessarily going to look up. So there's more than that. As Cousins is still there, Jefferson's out. And then if they move Kirk Cousins and Jefferson returns, then you're dealing with a quarterback that might not be able to get him the football. Like, that's fantasy disaster written all over it.
It's so funny how there's different conversations from the fantasy and the NFL standpoint. Like, and I think that's why there are the people that don't like fantasy sports that'll go, it's just, It's like Dungeons and Dragons, whatever, man. Like, I think it's fun. I think it's a blast. It also is something that you and I do, quasi
Oh,
for a
Nick
living
Mullins
here.
is the backup.
Oh,
Mon's
Nick
not with
Mullins.
it? Okay, there you go.
I,
Thank you.
I don't hate Nick Mullins. He's
not
had
that
some
good.
bright moments, but yeah, I'm not going to love him. Listen, if I'm the Minnesota Vikings, and again, I'm not a real general manager, I'm not a real team president, I am like 100% kicking the tires on any trade opportunity to get Cousins out of there. And at 1-4 right now, what's my best case scenario? I'm going to win 6 games this year now with this Minnesota team. And all that does is get me the number 12 or 13 pick or whatever, 10th pick in the NFL draft. I'd rather win 3 games and get number 1, 2, or number 3 and just restart the clock. I can sell Justin Jefferson on, hey, man, you know what? Cousins is gone. Instead of the 4 weeks, you could take 6 or 7 off. Come back a little bit later in the season. I know you don't want to lose, but we're going to lose games because then next year you're going to have Caleb Williams or Drake May or insert whomever the rookie quarterback is. I got to roll that way. That's how I would handle things.
Yeah, you might be right. I mean, we're getting a lot of questions in our chat session.
What do you got?
Would they move Jefferson from Hal? No. Who will be the next head coach in New England?
I think it's still Belichick next year, unless he quits.
Yeah, I still think it's probably Bill.
Yeah.
I think Mayo. Well, he's going to be the guy that's going to be the next head coach of the Patriots. When
you just mean like going forward? Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he'll be there. But yeah, I mean, we're coming off a game Monday night last night. I mean, injuries abound in the National Football League. We mentioned Elijah Vera-Tucker, Jefferson out, HN out with Miami for multiple weeks. Could be placed on IR with the Dolphins. When McDaniel was asked about it yesterday, he was very, very coy when he met with the media. So, but HN, who's been an unbelievable fantasy stud, he's going to be out for multiple weeks with a knee injury. Could be placed, as I mentioned, on IR. So that's a fantasy hit. Who else we got? I think we had
James Conner.
James Conner with Arizona, correct. Arizona's terrible, but that doesn't care.
He's
you don't care if you're
you don't care running back, yeah.
Right. You don't care if you're a fantasy player.
That's another one too. Hal just wrote about Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones. I mean, he's banged up now too, and like you're playing offensive line for him lately.
Yeah.
I mean, that offensive line is atrocious. Are the Giants the worst team in the NFL? Panthers are, right?
No, I think Carolina's bad. But I mean,
the Giants are right there.
Yeah, they're throwing themselves into the conversation.
That's crazy.
Amazingly enough. And Jones, here's the thing about like the injuries to the Giants. The offense has been so bad that if you're starting Daniel Jones in fantasy football as your starting quarterback, you're losing.
Well, yes, but I will say, and to Hal's point here, it was super flex with no IR spot was his point.
Right.
So super flex is different. Let's assume there's 12 teams in Hal. I'm assuming there's 12 teams in your super flex because most people that do super flex are not in a 10 team or an 8-team league. You're in 12 or 14. Let's say 12, which means every 24 quarterbacks were drafted and everyone tried to get a backup. Oh, it's a 14 team league. Wow. That's gangster right there. 14 teams. That's 28 QBs were drafted. No, I mean, you kind of can't drop Daniel Jones. You have to keep him on your roster and hope that he plays. But no IR spot scares you because now you might get stuck not starting a QB in that super flex spot. That's rough, Hal. I'm sorry, man. That's rough.
Well, can't you just pick up Tyrod Taylor?
Right, but I think his point is if there's no IR spot, he probably doesn't have the availability to pick up Taylor.
Gotcha.
So the only thing I would say is if you've got, somebody at the end of your bench that you're willing to drop, then maybe you drop one of those guys. But you may have to roll the dice with Daniel Jones if there's no IR, or you're going to have to roll the dice and play a wide receiver or running back at that spot. That's tough.
Connor's injury in Arizona. Who's going to be the guy that's going to be the main pickup for the Cardinals?
It's going to be Damari. How do you say his name? How do you spell say that? It's Amari DiMercato is how you say it. They played a little bit last year. He'll be the guy. He'll get his chance. I wasn't a firm believer in the Arizona offense in general anyway. I think you're rolling the dice anytime you play with a team that's just bad at football.
We'll come back. We'll talk a little Monday Night Football. What a doozy that was between the Packers and the Raiders last night. All Jerry Jones continuing to support Dak Prescott. We'll get into that too. It's Moose and Keith with you right here on Tuesday. Thanks for being with us right here at Better Sports Network.
like Devon Levi started off in the friend zone and now like he could possibly be wife material. So it is exceptionally hard to trust a rookie goalie in the NHL. The kid is what? He's 21. Like, okay. And he is going to the Buffalo Sabres. But we've all agreed that the Buffalo Sabres are at least a somewhat better hockey team on paper. Again, it's hard to trust a rookie goalie. We've seen future Hall of Fame goalies like, Fleury in his first year struggle, right? Carey Price in his first year struggle. It is tough for goalies to come in and have success. That being said, nobody outside of maybe a Buffalo sports fan can tell me who these two goalies on their roster are, because I didn't know until this morning, until I was reminded that it was Eric Comrie and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. And I was like, okay, well, he has the crease to himself. So all he can do is lose it. That's all he can do. Buffalo is going to be a fun team to watch, which means maybe Devon Levi ends up in what I call the Martin Jones syndrome, which is a goals against average is pretty up there. Save percentage is not very good, but he's going to finish with 35 wins because he's just going to play a lot. And it's going to be that back and forth hockey. The Atlantic Division is not very good, right? There are some teams that are going to regress. So there's opportunities here for Buffalo to do well. And I think his over-under on wins is set at 24.5. So again, there's a lot of things that I may not trust about him, but as a 13th goalie off the board, and I think that is a reach at 13. I think a lot of people have him farther back than that. So he may be 13 on NHL.com's list, but you may end up and show up in your Yahoo or your ESPN draft, and they haven't ranked probably outside of the top 20. So I would have no issue as a second goalie going with Levi, because like, who's taking his spot? Nobody. And volume at one point, if you're in a league that doesn't penalize you for losses, if you're in a league that rewards saves and save bonuses like, for daily, DraftKings does, he has all that working for him. So if it doesn't work out, all right, fine. Then you can go and pick up whoever is there. But it is his net to lose. I understand the risk. I will definitely take, because that's how you win championships, right? You got to take risks to win them. If you're safe, you're going to finish, eliminated in the first round and you had a good time. Or you can try to win the championship on draft day.
It's Moose and Keith with Mark Malusis and Keith Irizarry.
Go ahead, Moose.
Welcome back. There you go. I thought you were dancing.
I'm sorry. I was really feeling that music. Burnsy he's like a DJ, man. He's on the ones and twos.
Yeah. Anthony Richardson's also got a grade 3 sprain AC joint for the Indianapolis Colts. He is out. Monday night game last night went the Raiders' way over the Green Bay Packers. And you look at their quarterback, clearly Jordan Love struggled. He was trying to air it out to Christian Watson all over the place. They couldn't really run the football. They struggled with that with, A.J. Dillon and their lead back not active last night. And the Raiders found a way to win a football game, even with the decisions by Josh McDaniels. Love's kicking the field goals, tried it late with Carlson. He was 1 of 3 for the night for the Vegas Raiders. Still, they hold on for dear life and win that game late with the interception by the Raiders in the end zone on the long pass attempt to Christian Watson.
Quick story time for you here. So, I'm in that fantasy survivor in which you do a quarterback, a running back, a wide receiver, and then tight end and 2 flexes each week, right? So, to be honest, I was upstate New York this weekend. You know that I was out of pocket at a basketball camp all weekend long. So I really didn't get a chance to like dive into my fantasy football stuff, right? So I put a lineup in, it stunk, and 2 people get eliminated. I get the email on Sunday night that I'm on the chopping block. It's 2 people are below me, then me, and 1 guy right ahead of me. I can't catch the guy ahead of me. The 2 people below me both have Jordan Love. Okay, I was done. I needed Jordan Love to not get 12.6 points. I'm like, all right, I lost. I'm out. I'm going to get knocked out in week 5. This is very embarrassing. He ends up with 6 points. Had Watson caught that touchdown at the end of the game, I would have lost by 0.3. Instead, I live to fight another week. We survive, baby.
There you go. Survive an event. Doesn't always have to be
Whew,
pretty. Want to
that was
remind
a sweat.
everybody. Yeah, get the Fantasy Alarm All-Pro subscription and unlock all the content for all sports, including annual draft guides, daily and weekly rankings, value vault, position coaches, and more. Go to fantasyalarm.com/a-win. So Keith survives in advance when you're looking at fantasy, and Jordan Love was terrible last night, and be concerned about Watson. I think it still has got tremendous fantasy value when you're looking at that. When you're looking at the Green Bay Packers moving forward, because I think they're going to try and push the ball deep, and Watson obviously has got speed to kill. And then you look at the Vegas Raiders, and Devontae Adams, unfortunately, I don't think he's just got the quarterback that can be able to consistently get it. I mean, for majority of that game, he had like 2 receptions. I mean, it's Devontae Adams, and at some point in time, as you saw, 1 third down play, the Green Bay Packers put Preston Smith, the linebacker, out on him, and he embarrassed him, which I don't understand what the hell the defensive coverage was there, putting basically an edge rusher out on Devontae Adams in space made little to no sense. But Adams is a guy that, I don't think there's a more gifted route runner in the National Football League. Unfortunately, he's in an offense that doesn't get him the football nearly enough.
And Josh Jacobs is not what he was last year. And Jimmy Garoppolo is just fine. Like, there's just not much to love about. Listen, Jacoby Myers has been a real nice, pleasant surprise this year for the Vegas Raiders. I'll give you that. He is a guy that you can plug into your lineups and play. On the Green Bay side of things, Jordan Love has taken a step back over the last 3 weeks. I'm not ready to throw in the towel on him. He's a young quarterback, essentially making his first real series of starts. And there's going to be bumps in the road. Really fast, a couple of people in our chat. M. Rojas wrote the Giants should punt the season and trade Barkley. I believe a team like Carolina would be interested. They're desperate for weapons to support Young. Moose, what do you say to that?
Barkley hasn't been healthy. I don't think Carolina has any interest in trading for him.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Bush 1G. A, what's up? G. All right. What's up, Bush? Way to join the chat. Chime in with any questions or anything you got. All right, let's switch over to baseball, right? What do you make of the fact that the creme de la creme, the top teams, are struggling mightily, and the Dodgers are now on the precipice of getting swept out?
What do you mean? Like, I think every situation's just a little bit different.
So let's start with the Dodgers. What do you make of them?
Well, I think everyone looked at
Diamondbacks?
You and Stryker were on MLB Network every day, looking at the Dodgers, and the concern about them was starting pitching going into the postseason, and the starting pitching has been horrendous.
Yeah.
I mean, Kershaw gave up 6 runs while getting a third of an out. Bobby Miller wasn't great last night. Starting pitching does count for something, and it means a hell of a lot more when you get to October. And there was massive concerns about the Dodgers starters, and honestly, they're not good. And Arizona came in, and I know there's going to be a lot of play about, the regular season, or, now that you expanded the wild card to a 3-game series, there's that expanded now 5-day break, and maybe there's a little bit of rust on teams, or too much time off after playing obviously 162 game regular season, and to make sure it's ramped up for game 1 of the LDS, and it's a 5-game series and everything that comes along with that. I guess to an extent, if you believe in momentum, there's something to that. I wouldn't want to be part of the wild card round. I think the seeding aspect's a little strange. Like, I really do think in the National League, like, the Braves should not be playing the Phillies, but if you're that great, go out there and beat the Philadelphia Phillies.
Do you think you should reseed?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Yeah. It's funny that you say that. I had someone on Instagram message me about that and say that it affects gambling, like the gambling angles of things. And I said, well, all sports have really gotten away from reseeding.
Yeah, but here's the deal. The books will adjust.
Exactly.
Like, as a sport, you can't worry about whether or not you're doing, whether or not.
I know we're already catering enough to the betting world.
You just can't do that. Then it's just flat out wrong. Like, you got to do right by your sport. Like, so, like, if reseeding makes the most sense to give the advantage to the team that had the best record in the regular season, then I think I think there should be reseeding. I don't necessarily, and I understand Sharapan joins us. A lot of people play the futures markets and looking up matchups in the World Series. And I get all that, but I do think there should be a little bit of reseeding. But with that, Keith, if you're the Braves, as historic, as great as you were in the regular season, and you and I both picked them to make it to the Fall Classic, whether it be the Braves, whether it be the Phillies, whether it be the Diamondbacks, you should get past the divisional series into the NLCS.
Well, there was even that, that price it was on BetMGM that you could have the Dodgers or Braves win the World Series. It was like minus 130, or you could take anyone else, and I think it was like plus 300. It's like 3-1 odds.
There you go.
It felt pretty good that the Dodgers or Braves, one of them would win a World Series. But when push comes to shove, typically it's the smarter play to take the field, like it just usually is.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I never thought the Dodgers were going to win the World Series.
Agreed. Same thing that you were just talking about, the pitching scared me.
Yeah, I just didn't think their pitching was strong enough.
And when people were trying to sell me on the Orioles, they're just so young, and every pitcher on their rotation, I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but every pitcher on their rotation ended up having their career years.
Yeah.
Is that going to always translate over into the postseason? At some point, you become the pumpkin again.
What about if you're Major League Baseball and you get, say, a Minnesota,
Arizona,
Minnesota, Texas ALCS,
Woo!
and a Arizona, Atlanta NLCS, and then say you get Atlanta, Minnesota World Series. I love Kirby, as a player, and those Twins teams and the Homer Dome and all that kind of stuff, and get Herbeck and all that group, but I mean, that's not going to light up America.
No, I think Minnesota, Arizona will be literally the worst.
You might have had concerns about the Orioles. So do you think the Rangers would be leading that series 2-0?
No, I didn't think they'd be doing what they're doing right now. But then again, when you think about it, I mean, there was a stretch of time that Texas, I mean, for the most part, they were the best offense in baseball, not named the Atlanta Braves. And there was a stretch of time that they were one of the best teams in baseball. I didn't expect this, though.
Are you a big Creed fan?
Like the movie?
No, the group Creed.
Oh, because of the song that Minnesota. I like the movie better than the band.
Isn't it? It's Texas. They're playing.
Yeah, no, you're correct. Yeah,
the Rangers.
Can you take me higher?
Yeah, they're great. I saw Creed in concert. They were awesome.
I have not. I don't know another song besides that.
Oh no, they've got
they have
at
a
that
lot of
time
hits?
they put on I would say 4 or 5.
Okay.
4 or 5 known songs. They don't have like a catalog of 20 or 30, but yes. But that is now they started playing that when they were struggling, and now they're 2-0. And I think if Andrew Haney, I believe it is, who, if he has his way, they're going to be playing it throughout the ballpark during home games.
Yeah, and why am I blanking on which hockey team had Gloria? Was it the Blues?
I think you might be right.
Gloria,
I don't remember. Yes, I think it was.
I think it was the Blues.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I love that kind of stuff.
I know you do.
The baseball playoffs. But that ending, we're going to go to break here and welcome aboard Britt Flinn.
Insanity.
But the ending to the Braves-Phillies game last night was as good of a first time ever in the history of the baseball playoffs where you had an outfielder play a role in a double play to end a playoff game.
Yeah.
And what about it's Riley deserves. It wasn't Jeter against the A's because that was at home. But Riley deserves a ton of credit to be there with the bad throw, with the overthrow by Harris, or and to be there and to the scoop and fire over to Olsen to get him at first. Like Riley deserves so much love.
I know we got to go to break, but did you hear what he said? He said the reason he was in that spot because he kept pointing, go to first, and his body just kept carrying as he was pointing. And the next thing you knew, the ball was out.
It was great.
Get him out of here.
Britt Flinn joins us next. He's Keith Irizarry. I'm Mark Malusis. It's Moose and Keith with you on a Tuesday right here, Better Sports Network.
Oh boy, we got a big one. We got a big card here.
Let's go.
We got a super rookie.
Ooh.
Do you guys want to guess Who the
19.
big card super rookie is, because
I'm going to guess
exciting.
somebody from the Dallas Cowboys, but I don't recall who were rookies in those particular years. So I'm going to guess Michael Irvin.
Adam?
Jared kind of convinced me to go Troy Aikman there.
I'm going to read the description. In this player's NFL debut, September 10th, 1989, he produced an electrifying 68-yard punt return for a touchdown.
Sanders.
He became the first athlete in the 20th century to hit a home run, September 5th, 1989, for the Yankees at Seattle, and score a touchdown in the same week.
That needs a sleeve. That one needs a sleeve.
Top
100%.
super rookie, neon, prime time, Deion Sanders.
I wasn't that far off. He played for the Cowboys.
I was going to say Deion, and then when you said the early 90s Cowboys, I'm like, oh, Aikman would be a good guess. So I go with your gut is the lesson there.
And there it is, the white and red Falcon jerseys that you said Deion came in with before they changed to black.
That was because the starting lineup for Deion his rookie year has got the red helmet with the white jersey.
Now look at that do. I mean, are you kidding me with that hair?
I mean, you got to have a headband with those curls. You got to.
That is sick. And this is a favorite card. Do we have any value on this card? We have to, right?
Let me see.
Give me a value here.
Let's see here on eBay. PSA 10 gem mint Deion Sanders, $149.99. And then a 9.5 is $6. So that guy might be a little bit then there's a much more reasonably listed one at $31 for a PSA 10. So it's got some value to it. Yeah, you might want to protect that one.
It's in excellent condition. I guess we have to worry about, is it centered?
Yes, that would be the next thing.
All right, well, we'll go through the process there. Maybe I'll just frame that one as a great moment in this show's history.
It's Moose and Keith with Mark Malusis and Keith Irizarry.
Yeah, we are back, and we're going to bring in Britt Flinn in just a second. Burns, you don't do that yet. So Mark Malusis behind the scenes had sent a text over to Burnsy. Totally Mark Malusis, not me. Totally Mark Malusis. It was Moose, not Keith Irizarry. Burnsy, if you could you roll that sound that Mark Malusis, his name is Mark Malusis, Moose, not Keith Irizarry, asked for? Roll it, please.
You mentioned that we have the quarterback. In the past few years, you've changed out Leo Linehan and Kellen and Coach Garrett. All these changes and the results are still the same. Why are you so convinced that the quarterback is the guy?
No, the results are very obvious. We haven't won a Super Bowl. Would you agree that we've had good games over the years?
Absolutely.
And we've had some bad games. Do you know any team that hasn't had that happen to?
Nope.
Now, consequently, I will say that we haven't gotten big years when we should have. We've been real close a few times and haven't gotten our big years. That's not excuses. That's not anything. But if you think for 1 minute that there's any particular thing that I could put my finger on that basically says we need to do that differently, we need to do that differently, then it's combinations of things. Dak Prescott is a quarterback that can get us to the Super Bowl, and that's the way that's going to be. We have other quarterbacks on that roster and players that certainly, if something should happen to Dak, but I want to be real clear, Dak's very capable of making this team be where we want it to go.
And now we bring in the great Britt Flinn. And Britt, listen, that was Fantasy Alarm. By the way, that was not me at all. It was Mark Malusis. His nickname is Moose. Mark Malusis asked for that. Definitely not me. All right? Definitely not.
I'm fine with it. I've been a Cowboys fan as long as I can remember. I've always taken the heat. When we're great, nobody talks about it. When we're bad, everybody loves to talk about it. So I'm fine. I'm used to it. And honestly, the way that game went down on Sunday, we deserve to be talked bad about. We looked horrible. I mean, just in all phases of the game. Now, I will say everybody talking about Dak's 3 interceptions, 2 of those, again, were bounced off receivers' hands that we saw the same thing last season. So not all the blame can be placed on Dak, but just on all phases of the ball, we looked very, very bad.
Yeah, I'm not an anti-Dak guy, by the way. I just wanted to poke some fun at you. And yes, it was me that asked Burnsy for that. I think you could win with Dak Prescott. I think you can get to the playoffs. I think you can win games in the playoffs. I think they're a flawed team like a lot of other teams in the NFL, and losing Diggs at the back end of your defense essentially changed what could have been an all-time great defense, right?
Yep, absolutely. I mean, we do have great talent, but Diggs had improved so much from being this boomer bust kind of ball hawk guy to actually becoming a shutdown corner last season. And it was looking like he was doing even better this year. Brutal loss for our defense. The offensive line has been banged up. And I've been harping on this since preseason. I think that Dallas needs to bring in another running back because I don't know if Tony Pollard is it. I don't think that he's the between the tackles guy that we were all hoping for. Sure, he's explosive on the outside, but we need a big powerhouse back to get those short yardage situations. And right now, Rico Dowdle and Deuce Vaughn definitely aren't it.
Well, what's your take on Kittle's shirt?
You know, Kittle is Kittle. He's fun. It was actually a throwback to somebody else who wore that same shirt in the 90s. I have to give it to him for the confidence and planning. You know, if you know that you're that good and you're going to go out there, sure, get the crowd fired up. Again, they stomped us. Cannot be mad against that whooping. You
Who's
just
the
got to
Bills
learn to be
wideout
better.
that used to wear the T-shirt? Stevie Johnson, right?
Stevie Johnson, yep. And Kittle's preparing himself for a WWE career. I mean, that's
no
what
doubt.
he's doing.
Yeah.
I saw him. Jackie Redmond did an awesome interview with him. I think it was on Monday Night Raw, and it was clear that he's ready for that step after his career. All right, let's get into fantasy fallout here. We're going to start off with Justin Jefferson. So if you are a Jefferson shareholder, you're obviously scrambling today. Who are you looking at to fill that gap?
Yeah, that's so brutal. Pulling up and then being placed on IR, we've seen with hamstring injuries, even when you come back, they can linger and just you're not as productive. So I'm looking at KJ Osborne if you're looking from somebody on the Vikings team to just be a plug and play replacement for him. Osborne hasn't been bad. His fantasy stats say that he's been bad, but he's been out there on 90+% of the snaps. He just hasn't been getting the targets. Now with Jefferson out, I think that the door is open for him to be the number 3 on the team in target. Obviously gives a big bump to Jordan Addison, who puzzlingly is still on waivers in some leagues. I don't know why. Not very many, but if he is, you should go check for him. And TJ Hawkinson is definitely going to get a bump as well. If you can't get KJ Osborne, I'm looking at Josh Downs from the Indianapolis Colts, another very, very explosive rookie. It doesn't seem that it really matters who his quarterback is. This guy has been second on the team in targets. Alec Pierce seems like he's an all exercise team guy. He's been out there for the routes, but he's just not getting the work. And then this past week, even with the quarterback change and Richardson going out, Downs had a breakout weekend. So really like him. And Rashee Rice, also another guy who's not getting the snaps, not necessarily running the routes. But if you look at their red zone usage, he is tied for first on the team with Travis Kelce in targets in the red zone. So they obviously love what they're seeing there.
All right, Britt, how about in Arizona with the Connor injury for the Cardinals? What about who you targeting in that backfield for Arizona?
Yeah, this is really weird. And this is another weird thing about fantasy because with Denver, we thought that it was going to be Samaje Perine and it was Julio McLaughlin. I think it's going to be that same situation in Arizona where it's DeMarcado over Keontae Ingram. And I've got a little stat for you that's kind of interesting as well. So in the 3 games that DeMarcado and Ingram played together, DeMarcado has outsnapped Ingram 17-0 on third downs in their 3 games together. He was also second on the team in rushing yards on TCU last season behind Kendre Miller. And I think he came from a community college and then ended up playing from TCU. So if you go from community college to TCU and now start playing that well in Arizona, whose run game has actually been good. They've put up, I think, the 6th most rushing yards per game. I really like him to continue that streak and be a great fill-in for James Conner.
So DeMarcado, you guy. All right, let's go to Miami. Obviously, Mostert gets a boost with Achane going out of the lineup. But I guess the question would be, is there room for another running back to fill in now for Achane? If so, who is it?
Oh, yeah, Jeff Wilson. It comes back at precisely the right time. Raheem Mostert also has a questionable tag next to his name. So we don't know whether that's more of a rest day. He did fumble a couple of times, so that was definitely not good. And last season, if you look at what Wilson and Mostert did together, they basically had a 50-50 split. Their stats were nearly identical. And Wilson is the bigger back. So if they get down on the 1 or 2 yard line, I think that it's going to be Wilson who's going to get those carries. So he's definitely worth looking at as a pickup as well.
Curious when you look at Indianapolis, 2 questions. Richardson with the grade 3 AC joint sprain at quarterback, and obviously now it's going to be Gardner Minshew. And the other aspect, get a question from Hal in our chat session. How much longer will Zach Moss have value with now the return of Jonathan Taylor?
I think that Zach Moss proved that he has real legitimate worth in that backfield. Taylor, they just paid him this big contract. They don't want to rush him back. He missed the entire preseason, and so he doesn't really know the Shane Steichen offense as well as I think a lot of people think that he does. So I think it remains a committee for a lot longer than we think and a lot longer than we want it to. I would say probably up until week 8 or 9. It's going to remain pretty much a committee, which is super frustrating, right? You held on to Taylor. You want him to be this lead back and this bell cow back, but I just don't think that that's going to happen immediately. So just temper your expectations there, if I can speak. It's still a little early here. With Gardner Minshew in, he's not been bad. And he also came from that Shane Steichen offense. So he already knows the offense. Minshew mania is once again a thing. I would not recommend starting him if you are in a single quarterback league. But obviously, if you're in a super flex or a 2 quarterback league, he's worth a start because he already knows the system. He's already been a starting quarterback in the NFL. And Indy's schedule is decently soft.
I got a question for you from our chat. Patriots Super Bowl bound. So maybe in 2025. But anyway, would you trade away Puka and Pittman for Amari Cooper and Zay Flowers? What do you say, Britt?
No, not at all. Hold on to Puka and Pittman. Pittman is one of the few wide receivers who is out there for 100% of the snaps. He's going to get the targets just by virtue of being out there. And unlike Alec Pierce, who's out there for most of the snaps, Pittman actually gets targeted. With Puka, the Rams showed that they're going to utilize both of these guys. I think that although Tutu Atwell did get that touchdown, he was the one who was more phased out. With Amari Cooper, we don't really know, especially with Deshaun Watson banged up. And then Zay Flowers, Baltimore is just so hit or miss from week to week. And it's infuriating to me because I benched him last week, Lamar Jackson against Cleveland, because Cleveland's defense was so good on paper and he went off. Then last week, he didn't do anything. So just hold on to what you have. They are definitely the higher upside play with the much larger roles.
Another question in our chat. Lost Richardson, 0 fab, 14-team super flex. What do you say to Minshew off waivers?
It really just depends on who else in your league needs a quarterback because there have been a lot of injuries. I hope that you get him. If you can, definitely go for him because Kyler Murray is going to be coming back sooner rather than later. The Josh Dobbs experience, as great as it's been, is going to kind of fade away because I can see Kyler Murray coming back in there and them really showcasing him to see what they can get out of him in a trade. As far as your odds for getting him, I'm just going to use a Hunger Games reference here. May the odds be in your favor.
There you go. Like that. Is there anybody, Britt, is there any sleepers out there? Like HN came out, popped out of nowhere, that Broncos game. I know he was a 3rd round pick, but all of a sudden then he became this unbelievable fantasy player and performer on the field for the Miami Dolphins. Anybody out there, given circumstances, that you think when they get an opportunity, if they get that opportunity, say due to injury, that you think could surprise here as we're entering week 6?
I don't know if this is much of a sleeper pick, but I have been very impressed with Tajay Spears.
Yeah.
He's, we thought that it was only because Derrick Henry was dealing with that toe that he was getting the snaps, but he continues to get those snaps, and he's kind of been the more explosive player out of that backfield, and he has receiving upside. I think he's only rostered in 25% of ESPN leagues, so I know that the running backs on the waiver wire are very gross, but if he's out there, I would scoop him up.
No, you got to run. You got ESPN duties today. Quickly, Braves fans 527. Should I trade Devontae Smith for Puka? Yes or no?
Yes.
All right.
I think so.
Awesome.
Britt, you're awesome. Appreciate
you're the
it.
best.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
The X.
Yes. Next time, hopefully, I'll get to kick it with you guys a little bit longer.
No worries. We'll have you on again very soon. Yep.
All good.
There she
You
is.
got
Hey,
it.
Flynn.
Yeah, she was great. Answered all your fantasy questions. And I think she's right about Spears down in Tennessee. I liked what I've seen from him run the football.
He's
Unfortunately,
taking some time away from Derrick Henry. He is.
He is.
Yeah.
But is it going to be enough? I mean, that's the question. Is he going to be fed enough to have huge fantasy impact? Like the HN injury is a killer because like he's a stud.
Yes.
Like he was going to be a guy that we discussed last week, can help you win your fantasy league. Like HN was a player that can help your team overcome Justin Jefferson if you were to have those two. Overcome. Like I've taken a huge fantasy hit this week. I've lost Jefferson and HN.
Oof. That's
Like,
right. On the same roster?
On the same roster.
So I'm assuming that was a pretty good squad too.
Yeah, we were great. We had won. Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
I took a massive hit. My two running backs were HN and Williams, both guys I picked up off of waivers. One from the Rams, one from the Dolphins. And obviously I drafted Justin Jefferson because I love him. Who doesn't love him?
Yeah.
But now it's a killer.
Well, it's funny. I don't remember who said it. Someone in our chat earlier had said about drafting Jefferson was a big mistake over McCaffrey.
Yes.
Oh, it was Deutsch. Okay. So in, the neighborhood league that we're in that I'm not invited to, but both of my sons are.
Yes.
I told you about this. Yeah.
Yes.
They don't let me in the league. It's great. They let my children in, but not me.
Well, you're a ringer.
Whatever. They should let me play. Let me have some fun. Austin had the number 1 pick. He took Jefferson. Alex had the number 2 pick, and he took McCaffrey. So, and Austin's team is the best team in the league right now, and Alex is like number 3. So we're gonna see how that balances out now.
We'll come back. We'll play a little real-time sports pick, and we'll do that next. Got some final thoughts too. I want to get Keith thoughts on the game ball to Nathaniel Hackett by the Jets after they defeated the Broncos on Sunday. We'll get into that as well. It's Moose and Keith with you on a Tuesday right here, Better Sports Network.
What can we expect for you out there on the track tonight?
Listen, I have a wife, 2 kids. I have, full-time jobs. I'm never nervous. I don't even know what that word means. Can you explain what nervous means? No. I'm ready to have fun. I've never done anything like this before. I got asked to be a part of this. This is fascinating. Like, it's so cool to just look around and see what goes on here. So I'm just excited to get out on the horse. And you want trash talk? Is that what you're asking me for? No trash talk. I hope everyone does well.
All right. Everyone's going to do well, but it has to be a winner. So give me your trifecta. Who's going to come in first, second, and third? Your heat.
I will go Maria 1, me 2, Willie 3, Moose goes 4th.
Well, it's very simple. I won this event last year. I won my heat, and so the defending champ has to be the favorite. Now, that makes me a little nervous just because I feel like it's hard to repeat. There's a little pressure when you're the favorite, but that being said, I'm still optimistic.
So your heat, it's you,
Yes.
Moose and Keith from Better Sports Network, and Willie Colon.
I think Keith might be my stiffest competition, and I asked for this because I actually recruited Keith, if you didn't know. So Keith, if you win, you're welcome.
Malusis is very good. I mean, he knows what he's doing, but I'm going to go with Maria.
Keith is waving to the crowd. He must pay attention because they're off. It's Mark Malusis going for the lead. Maria Marino on the outside, and now Keith Irizarry on the outside with speed, and they're 3 wide into the first turn. Woo! Mark Malusis is locked in for his life. 138 and 2. They're into the stretch. Sportscasters Derby 2. And still in front, Keith Irizarry. And now Mark Malusis is trying to squeeze on through.
Come on! Come on! Let's go! Come on, kick it! Kick it!
Yeah! Keith Irizarry. Keith, you did it all the way, wire to wire. Over Mark Malusis.
Awesome! That was so cool!
The champ is here! Keith, what was it like being out there? Adrenaline rush, you were doing the Instagram Live, so there was no panic. You looked cool, calm, collected the whole time, and you won it.
I felt really comfortable. I did. Like, I know you were joking with me before. Are you nervous? Are you whatever? What are you? David, the driver, was awesome. He's like, we're going to win this. I said, all right, let's win this. And he said, let's go. Yeah, I just felt really comfortable. I did. It was fun. We're in the lead. I got Maria Marino on the right side of me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's gonna beat us, right? And then out of nowhere, you see Moose coming up this way, and we feel him breathing down our neck. And I'm like,
Moose on the loose, watch out.
Moose was definitely on the loose, and we just got Moose by a neck, a nose, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, but again, all of this for a great cause, and it was absolutely awesome to do this. It was cool.
All right, Keith, congratulations, and no matter what, you could always hold this over Moose's head.
It's Moose and Keith with Mark Malusis and Keith Irizarry.
All right, play real-time sports pick'em contest. Set a lineup of player props, hit them all, and you win. Go to rtsports.com/alarm. First-time depositors get 100% instant match up to $200. Please play responsibly. For help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, Keith, what do you got today in our real-time sports pick'em contest?
Weird slate here because not a lot of options in the two games. So real-time sports going to make it really difficult on you today, and I'm okay with that. I'm about that action. So Astros and the Twins, you got the series tied up at 1. You got Javier versus Gray. Javier has not been the strikeout guy that we all expected. I'm not touching anything there. Sonny Gray, the strikeout number seems attainable, but the Astros don't strike out often. So I had to dig a little deeper. I'm going to go with Jorge Polanco to score.
We got 4 options, Keith.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. So I'm going to go Polanco to score a run solely because he has scored a run in back-to-back games. That's the best I can give you in that game.
Even though he was a terrible Yankee, I'll go Sonny Gray over 4 strikeouts.
It seems very attainable. It does.
But you're right. The Astros don't strike out a lot.
Yeah, they're bottom 5 like in least amount of Ks per game.
That's going to be a great scene, though, in Minnesota.
I think
they win their playoff series for the first time in a while, last round of the wild card round. Now they're, it's going to be fun. Minnesota, Houston, Correa, and his magic for the Twins now, former Astro. It's going to be fun this afternoon. But I'll take Sonny Gray more than 4 strikeouts. Okay. How about Baltimore, Texas?
Man, I want Baltimore to get a win here. I don't want them to get swept.
So do I.
What a great story they've been, going from the 80-some-odd wins last year, the 100-something losses a couple of years ago, to now, being the best team in the American League. With that being said, I'm worried for them. I fear that the Rangers are going to win today. So let me get in on the Rangers. Let's go Marcus Semien to score a run here. He has scored at least 1 run in 3 of his last 4 games in the postseason. Against Kramer in his career is 4 for 12, and that involves a home run, a double, and a pair of singles. Also, in the postseason, the Rangers as a team, they've done 4, 7, 3, 11. Those are runs scored.
I'm going to go with Baltimore Frazier to get a hit.
I like it. He's got good numbers against Eovaldi.
Yes, so I'm going to go Frazier more than half a total hit.
Yeah, I could see that.
That's my brilliant strategy today. When you're going, what's the guy that has to do the least? Well, I'll go on Frazier just to get me a hit.
Well, yeah. Well, all right. So to back you up, his batter versus pitcher numbers are really good against Eovaldi. So if he gets 2 at-bats against Eovaldi, why can't he get 1 hit? I'm with you. I could see that happening.
Play the real-time sports pick'em contest. Go to rtsports.com/alarm. First-time depositors get 100% instant match up to $200. Please play responsibly. For help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Keith, we got a couple minutes left before we bid you everyone adieu on this Tuesday. What was your take on the celebratory nature of the Jets following their victory over the Broncos and Sean Payton? Nathaniel Hackett was a 4th captain that day.
Yeah.
Got a game ball after the game. What was your take?
We've both been around pro and collegiate sports for most of our careers doing this. And there is something to be said about chemistry and camaraderie. I'll throw both of those words in there. I mean, listen, I'll throw another C word. I thought it was a little bit cheesy, but as a team, it builds chemistry and camaraderie. So I kind of liked it. It was like us against the world. Hey, they said you're trash. You're not. You're our guy.
Do you think Saleh said stay classy or stay humble or stay healthy? Did you see that at the end of the game?
It looked like he said stay healthy, but I'm not sure.
But the stay healthy makes sense.
It makes sense to me.
Like, why does stay healthy make sense?
I don't know.
It doesn't. Stay humble makes sense. And then you got when someone says something you might not like to hear, like especially you got the two heavy slaps on the back for Robert Saleh. Like I understand people like question whether or not Saleh's a good head coach. I think Saleh's a foxhole guy.
Yeah.
Like, I think,
you're right.
Like I think Robert Saleh is a very, very good man. Like I really do. Like I think he's a foxhole guy. Like I enjoyed it. I thought Peyton was a clown for what he said. You know, Hackett's in the coaching fraternity. He never apologized to him. We said it. I thought it was to provide cover for Russell Wilson to say what he said. And you know what? Karma's king.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. You put bad juju out there, you do bad things, it's going to come back to haunt you at some point in life.
Got 45 seconds. Let's get to these questions. Should I start the Chiefs defense versus the Broncos or the Saints defense versus the Texans? I say start the Chiefs.
Chiefs.
Okay. Traded away Smith, Achane, Najee, and Ferguson for Tyreek Hill. Thought I gave up too much, but now I don't think so.
No.
So line up this guy. South Scout 650 has Geno, Chase, Moore, Kyron Williams, Breece Hall, Logan Thomas, Hill. Yeah, you're nasty.
Oh my God.
I absolutely love that. I thought we had one more here. Did we? Picked up JT off waivers last week. Who's JT?
HN. He got off the HN bandwagon. Anyway,
okay. All right.
Good for you. We'll be back, and you got off at the right time. I'm heartbroken.
Yeah.
We'll be back with you Friday morning at 11 a.m. Keith, great job.
You too.
Thanks to Jonathan Taylor's JT. Thanks to Brian Burns behind the scenes. Thanks for being with us, everybody. Have yourself a Tuesday. We'll talk to you Friday morning at 11.
How you doing?